When does a public health issue become so bad it's labelled an epidemic? When 9% of everyone in Australia are affected by it? When 1 in 5 people who are battling one of its most severe forms die prematurely from suicide? Well, a recent in-depth study estimated that 1,829 people died from this issue in Australia in a single year. Yet it's still an underfunded, under-researched enigma to our health system. Figured out what I'm talking about yet? Eating disorders have the highest death rate of any psychiatric illness. Thank you. And almost 1 million Australians are affected. What's even scarier is this number is increasing. We're in a serious epidemic. The most basic description of an eating disorder is that it is a serious mental illness, characterised by a person who has an unhealthy preoccupation with their body weight or shape, and even a deep-seated compulsion or fear of eating food.
It's inexplicable to somebody who doesn't have an eating disorder, but it's a horrific, terrifying experience. They have an absolute terror of food.
Christine Morgan is the CEO of the Butterfly Foundation, an organisation dedicated to helping anyone affected by eating disorders or negative body image understand what is happening to them.
For somebody with an eating disorder, unlike somebody with an addiction, you can't just ignore it. You can't put it to one side. You need to be engaging on a daily basis with the thing that frightens you the most.
There are 3 main types of eating disorder. People with binge eating disorder are unable to control their appetite because their brains are telling them to continually eat. Bulimia nervosa is a disorder in which a person overeats and then purges through inducing vomiting or abusing laxatives. Lastly, people who have anorexia nervosa have a distorted body image, believing themselves to be overweight despite being significantly underweight.
It's a complex disorder that needs somebody who's looking after what's happening in your brain. You need psychiatric, psychological support and therapy.
However, what causes eating disorders is complex, and there is a dangerous stereotype of it being something only young, thin white girls suffer. But Mitch Doyle is living proof that men are in just as much danger.
I was diagnosed with anorexia nervosa when I was 11. I was bullied about my weight, probably consistently throughout primary school. There was always this thing hanging over my head, was like, guys don't have this. This is a white female thing, pop star thing, reality TV star thing.
At last count, there were nearly 7,000 Australian men diagnosed with anorexia nervosa, and relapses can definitely occur. And 6 years after his first bout with the disorder, Mitch relapsed in high school.
It's just, it was like someone flicked a switch. The pattern of thinking was like something had laid dormant from when I was 11, thinking that I needed to look a certain way. And these images that we see in media, they're so fake. And people spend their lives trying to distort their bodies or alter their bodies so that they can look like something that actually doesn't exist.
The hard truth is, the 21st century beauty ideal is not healthy for any of us. And with a recent study finding that 77% of Australian women blame social media for their low sense of self-esteem, the problem needs dealing with, especially if you're vulnerable to an eating disorder.
It's incontrovertible that with a society where we so frequently couple what we look like with whether we will be successful, and that can trigger an eating disorder in people who are vulnerable.
It's important to understand what Mitch and Christine have been saying. A person with an eating disorder doesn't just choose to starve themselves. The causes go much deeper and the treatment is incredibly complex. But there is one treatment that's easy to access, affordable, and a lot of fun. The ancient Indian practice of yoga is a movement therapy which can bring a sense of calm and peace to a person experiencing the severe mental tensions associated with eating disorders.
Yoga is good for people that feel like their thoughts are getting away from them or they're in a bit of a tough spot mentally.
Maya Rees runs special yoga classes for people needing mental support called Trauma-Informed Yoga.
Because when you do feel like that, you tend to feel really isolated, and that the problem is you're quite literally all in your head. And the best way to get out of your head is to get into the body.
And if you need any more evidence of the positive power that yoga can play in rebuilding a person's healthy relationship with their body and being happy with who they are, I'll leave the final word to Mitch himself.
Looking back on, what was an incredibly difficult decade, yoga has been an amazing practice for me to start. And with a sense of mindfulness and with a sense of meditation and all of that, I've been able to actually link in and be like, our bodies are incredible machines, and it's not about what they look like. It's about what they do. They give us the chance to experience the world. They give us the chance to love people, to travel, to go to work, to get up, to eat food, to consume energy so that we can live our lives. It has absolutely nothing to do with the way that we look.